Yeah, it was a great round. It was the iron game was very, very sharp. Putting made a bunch of nice 5-6 footers on that back nine for par. And for me at this place, I need to be in the fairway. That's everybody, but if I'm in the rough, it's pretty much a chop out and try to get up and down with a wedge or something. So keeping the fairway has been key.
Did you putt on 15 and 16?
Yes,
So you putted for birdie on every hole but 10.
pretty much. Yeah.
How special is that? That's hard to
Yeah, that's pretty good. I not that I was necessarily keeping track of it, but it was nice to to not have to be. But the nice thing was for the most of the day, my speed was very good, so it was a lot tap in pars if I wasn't making birdie, and that's huge out here to kind of relieve some of that extra energy if you're having 3-4 footers all day on these tricky greens. So yeah, it was a clean card, which not necessarily that I expected, but it was nice to kind of keep it as simple as possible.
Yeah, solid day. If I hold a few more putts, probably would have been a little bit of a different score. But I felt like I was hitting my lines out there and did a good job of hit a lot more fairways today. I definitely felt better with my ball striking. So overall, 200 in those conditions was definitely not a bad score today.
You talked yesterday about being proud of posting a good score. You feel like you hit the ball better than you posted today?
Yeah, I mean, I had some good looks on the front nine that I didn't hold, but on the back, I rolled it really nice. And, outside of, just really, I think I was 1 under through 10 after a sloppy double on 10, and I played pretty good from there to the house to get in at 2 under.
Would you prefer here a 6-iron from the fairway or a wedge from the rough?
Yeah, I kind of mentioned it earlier. I'd say, I think you still take the wedge, but you're thinking about what the wedge is going to do a lot more than you're thinking about what a 7-8, maybe in 6-iron's doing on these greens, because 8-7-6 are going to land on the green and finish within a few feet of wherever it pitched. A sand wedge could land and you could be 45 feet from where it pitched. You hit a slope and you have backspin. So there's just I think you always want to be close to the hole. I think the stats would say that, but on a day like today, to a back pen, you'd almost rather have a little bit more and be able to kind of one-hop stop something. So it was tough. Looking at second shots into 14, for instance, I mean, that pen is in a very tight little window, and you're going to see guys all day either end up just long of that pen or spin it back off into the rough. Fortunately, the rough there is just long enough to keep it out of the water, but very difficult pens on a lot of those holes where you have wedges.
In terms of just the run you've been on, in terms of the fun you're having, how does this compare in terms just this last month, in terms of the most fun you've had, like playing golf in your life?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it can get any better. And basically, someone said I'm the hottest golfer on the PGA Tour. I feel like I'm playing right now with a ton of confidence. I'm hitting it kind of more or less where I'm looking with a lot of my clubs. So it's just it's really fun to go on these. Golf's cyclical, but it's fun to be on these highs, and I'm just going to try to stay on the high as long as possible.
Do you feel any different than maybe before the win in Zurich, or maybe even earlier this year?
Totally. I always said once I got my first win, it would free me up a ton. It's. My mindset's never changed from before I've won to now, but I'd say I just feel so much more confident in myself and my ability that I've gotten it done. I can weigh back on some of those moments, going back to the Schwab, going back to the Zurich with Andrew, where I hit some really quality shots down the stretch and was able to get it done. And so once you kind of do that a couple times, it frees you up to kind of continue to do it. You can, and you just got to keep the pedal down. And so, yeah, beforehand I was playing pretty solid golf, but I'd say, even from my physical game and body wise, I just feel like I'm at a really good place to be an elite golfer.
And along those lines, being in the last groups and playing with a lot of people around, having those wins, do you feel like your routine has changed at all a little bit in these last couple of months?
Routine's very similar. I'm just playing with new golfers now. The way the tee times work on the PGA Tour, you kind of have feature groups, you have categories where you're in a winner's category. And so someone like me, I was never, unless I got lucky and got paired with them on the weekends, I was never playing with, the Scottie Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, some of these top players. And now I'm just playing with different golfers. Going back to before Zurich, I'm just playing with guys that haven't won on tour, and you almost feel like there's two separate tours out there in a way on the first couple rounds, because I'm always playing with the same kind of guys. I was always playing with Charlie Hoffman. I was always playing with Bo Hossler, some of those guys. And it's funny, we joked about it, like everyone in kind of our same category would play a couple times a year, and you go on stretches where you play with the same guy, 3 times in a 10-week stretch or something like that, and it just kind of happened. But now I'm obviously going to be playing with some new faces, guys that I'm cordial with, in the locker room and everything, but I've never really played rounds with. So it's fun. It's a new experience, and but from a golf standpoint, everything's the same.
It was more about the timing, playing later and adjusting your schedule when you're traveling and doing things during the mornings. And
yeah, I mean, my first year on tour, I'm in the Corn Ferry category, so I'm at the back end of the wave. So you're kind of battling sunsets early in the year. The greens aren't quite as good because everyone stepped on them. And then my second year, I was kind of in a category where I was playing more early. So I'd wake up at 4 a.m. a lot. I'd say now I'm going to be waking up at a little bit better hour. Whether or not it's an advantage, it's probably a slight advantage. I think that's why they kind of do it, because they want the best golfers in the world to have the best conditions, I guess, in a way. I mean, it's relatively fair. It's as fair as it can possibly get. And the way the tour's set up, it rewards good play. And I think all of us as golfers are just trying to play as well as possible. And there's a lot of the pot of gold's pretty big at the end of the rainbow if you can keep the pedal down.
get to sleep in a little
Yeah.
bit too.
Have you learned anything from, like you said, from playing with different golfers, some of the more elite golfers, as you've kind of come along here over the last month or so?
I wouldn't say necessarily learned anything, but when you're playing rounds with really elite golfers, the best golfers in the world, you're seeing a lot of really high quality shots. So it helps a ton when you're out there and you're seeing guys make birdies and seeing guys hit good shots. It kind of helps the energy of the group. That's kind of one of those things you can't look at stats and see, but when you're in a group, you can feel when the energy's better. Like going back to the front nine with Shane yesterday, we were kind of feeding off of each other. That's really fun. And sometimes it's not like I was playing with necessarily worse of golfers. I mean, everyone on the PGA Tour is really, really good. But there might have been some days where I was paired with some guys that just, hardly made any birdies. Maybe they're past champions or whatever it is, and they're kind of at the back ends of their career, and they're just they don't hit it quite as far as some of the top golfers in the world, etc. So, I mean, the energy in the groups have definitely been nice the last few weeks.
I mean, actually, to be honest with you, I thought I hit it in the hazard on number 2. Just ran out of fairway, looked like it disappeared, ended up finding the ball, being able to make par. So, walking off the second hole, 6 over, actually 7 over because I bogeyed 1, it was like, oh, yeah, this is not the momentum start I was looking for. And then, yeah, exactly, holding the shot at number 3, sort of kick-started things. Suddenly I was in the red for the day, plugging away. I knew the course was super tough. I knew I probably didn't need to go super low to make the cut today, which was primary objective, was to make the cut. But, things really started flowing. I actually felt like I didn't play that well today. It didn't really hit my irons all that well. But I did everything today that I haven't been able to do the last few rounds. I just haven't been able to score. The PGA Championship was super disappointing with a short game. Had no momentum every time I missed a green. Wasn't able to up and down. Wasn't taking advantage of the par 5s, those sorts of things. And today, it was just the opposite. I kind of hung in there with some good chips, some good short game at the right time. Made some good putts to keep momentum going, and that's exactly what you need. So, of course, I mean, there's no let up really with it. If you do hit a poor shot, you're severely out of position today. So. Delighted to have kind of got myself back into not just make the cut, but back into the golf tournament.
Is there any Masters hangover for you at all?
Not consciously. Great, quite possibly. I think so definitely there is stuff to process there for sure, and I think obviously a lot of people want to keep talking to you about it. So it's hard to put it 100% behind you all the time. But I think I probably I had 2 weeks off after Hilton Head. And I felt like I did a little bit of work, but not a ton of work. And I felt like there was a little bit of slippage in that period of time. Yeah. So, definitely felt like it took a week. Well, it's probably taking me a little bit of time just to really kind of find that, that form again, I suppose. I think traveling back and forth from England, and this year I've definitely tried to change the way I'm approaching my weeks off at home, but I do kind of feel like it's my weeks off that are the problem, not the playing, So, it's definitely a balance.
What happened to Truist? You had to withdraw. Were you sick or did you hurt something? Or?
Yeah, no, I was just sick there, kind of just the man flu, a sniffle. But yeah, no, I wasn't feeling great. I was already 7 over par, and I was conscious that the PGA was coming up the following week. I was just on, like flu, basically, just achy and not feeling great. So, but I think that knocked me a little bit. Yeah, PGA just was not out the gates, and then obviously I felt like yesterday I was 2 under par through 8 holes, and I felt like okay, really prepared well this week and coming into this week. So yesterday was a real kick in the goolies.
Sorry.
Yeah,
That's good.
The back nine yesterday, the finish I had yesterday was kind of tough. But great to rebound today and see some red numbers.
How do you spell ghoulies?
I think that's two O's.
Google it.
Hey, Justin, is it hard for you to comprehend that you're still coming here to this venue 15 years after winning your first PGA Tour event at this place?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I felt like it took me a long time to win my first PGA tour event. I've been on tour over here since '03, so it definitely took me quite a bit of time to break through on this tour. So there was 7 years before breaking through, now 15 years since. So yeah, I mean, it's quite amazing when I think about it like that. But yeah, 15 years. I mean, the image I have is my little son Leo was kind of messing around in a bunker behind 18. I mean, now you lose him in these bunkers, but back then you could still see him in the bunkers.
How much pride do you take in that? Just playing that long and being, at the top level?
Yeah, I think I'm getting to that stage of my career where that is the goal now, sort of having pride of performance and trying to buck the trend of what, is a natural kind of aging process. There are things that are more difficult or get more difficult, but yeah, you don't want to kind of believe it. And I still think my good is good, which is what I've seen this year. It's been inconsistent this year, but my good is good, and that's the most important thing to see. I'd rather that than top 20th every week. Just to know that if I do put things together, I'm capable of winning, and I think I still believe that.
Longevity is underrated, frankly. Consistency. Who inspires you? Longer doesn't count.
Yeah, he's crazy for sure. I think Steve Stricker, I think, is a really nice example. I think he won, like 9 times in his 40s, and I think he did it, living in the Midwest, locking things up for winter, having a great family, didn't sacrifice the world in order to do it. He's a really good, I think, role model from that point of view. So, if you could have a career like his in his 40s, I think that's what I would say is doable, but aspirational. And maybe not a name you'd probably think that would come to mind first and foremost. There's a lot of, if you choose to kind of go all in, there's other things in your life that suffer, right? So it just depends on the balance of that. But, in other sports, obviously, Djokovic clearly is sort of the one pushing greatness in a sport where you do wear out pretty quick.
What about Scottie not missing a major in almost 25 years?
Yeah, listen, Adam's a huge benchmark for me, and I think I am for him. We're both within a couple of weeks of each other in terms of age. If you look at our careers, they're remarkably similar in terms of top 10s, cuts made. He's got a couple more wins, but majors, this, that, the other, FedEx Cup, like world number one. Very kind of quite interestingly comparable, and good friends as well. But there's things that he does really well that I'm like, I need to push myself to still be competitive that way. And I'm sure he looks at my game and thinks there's things that he needs to do to sort of compete with me. So yeah, he's Sergio as well. We're sort of all like around 1980.
Right.
I think Sergio still plays good golf. Obviously not seeing as much of him anymore to really kind of go up head to head. But yeah, I think we're the three players that have kind of kept the form. In terms of just being out on tour and competing and popping our names up on the leaderboard once in a while, we're probably the guys doing well at that.
In what ways are you maybe better now than you were in your, say, 20s?
It's just a good question. I'd say generally I've putted the ball better in the last 5 or 6 years than I did throughout my 20s and 30s. I was an elite ball striker, I think, for a long time. And if I'd putted it as I did now back then, I'd have probably done a lot of damage. But that's been an element of my game I've had to figure out. And like anything, ball striking hasn't quite been as good. But it's nice to know that I have access to it all. It's just putting it all together on the right week.